Good afternoon and welcome to the Nebraska Tourism Commission's educational update for March of 2016. We have a great panel of guests for you today, and we're going to do some talking about sports tourism, sports marketing, event marketing, and I think you'll find the information that we'll be sharing very helpful and interesting. As always, throughout the webinar, you can email any questions that you have to jen.jurdy@nebraska.gov, and the address is right there on your screen. That's jen.jurdy@nebraska.gov. So throughout the webinar, please send in your questions, and at the end we will answer those live on the webinar. Okay, so let's talk first a little bit about sports events and why they're valuable. Sports-related travel generates more than 47 million room nights annually and is one of the strongest segments in the entire travel industry. So sports events and organizers value long-term destination and hotel relationships, as we will hear a little bit about with the College World Series. There's definitely a value to building that long-term relationship and having that consistent place to host your event. Sports-related meetings and conventions also generate nearly 25 million room nights annually, and sporting events are highly visible. As you can see, anytime we have the College World Series going on or a big tournament going on in the state, you will see lots of news coverage nationally, through ESPN, through any kind of sporting publications, and even just regular national and local media. So it's great publicity for the host city and the state as well. So today we have Kathryn Morrissey, who's the Executive Director of the College World Series of Omaha, Inc., and Dan Morrissey, and he's the Director of Marketing Events, and they're going to talk to us a little bit about the College World Series. Welcome.
Thank you, and thank you for the opportunity to talk about one of our favorite things, College World Series. Are we going to advance the
play the
slide?
video first, you got it.
Sure. I think the first thing that we'd like to talk about is how Omaha may be the home of the College World Series, in fact, the longtime home of the College World Series, but actually the impact of this event reaches far beyond our city borders. So I think that the thing that we'd like to talk about today is how this long-term relationship is not only good for Omaha, but also good for Nebraska. And we've put together a video just to remind ourselves of the excitement of that event.
Can you start at the beginning? Here we go.
First pitch, fly ball deep right field, could be gone, it is gone, a home run! Warren Morris with 2 outs, hits a home run!
We, in the sport of baseball, college baseball, refer to this special event as home.
It's college baseball's premier event. It's the goal for the best of the best, where tomorrow's Major League stars battle it out for 2 weeks in June. It's the College World Series, and it's only in Omaha. The College World Series means so much to the players and the coaches who see Omaha as a goal, a destination. But the College World Series means even more to those of us who see Omaha as home. Even those of us who aren't baseball fans, we're College World Series fans. It's that special. It's a certain sense of pride that comes in being known for something timeless, something bigger than yourself. For a community to have a place in the hearts and minds of its nation's citizens, to be known across the land as the only place you can experience that one thing. Augusta has the Masters. Kentucky has the Derby. Indianapolis has the Speedway. But Omaha has the College World Series. It started as an experiment and grew into a culture. It's taken on a life of its own, and in turn, it's injected new life into our city, into our home. It's synonymous with Omaha. And it's ours, and ours alone. It's the greatest show on dirt.
You know, we're very lucky to have such a strong association between Omaha and the College World Series. So strong, in fact, I think a lot of people don't recall that Omaha was not the original home of the College World Series. That actually started in Kalamazoo, Michigan, 1947. Then it moved to Wichita, Kansas, 1948 and 49. And interestingly, we had a group of far-sighted business people who at that point looked at Wichita and the event, and it was in its infancy, and they also had a very small new municipal stadium, and they thought, why can't we put that great event with all of its potential in Omaha? So it was recruited away from Wichita, Kansas, and it's been home in Omaha since 1950. And, you know, it's interesting, way back then, the attendance that first year was about 15,700, and that was fewer than what we would consider to be an average day at the ballpark now. The early days of the College World Series were not especially promising. We lost money the first 7 of 10 years, and in fact it fell to local business people and sometimes even the mayor of the community to go out to fundraise locally to get even the basics for the stadium, things like tarp for the field. And at some point that group, that informal group, that first public-private partnership decided that they would incorporate into College World Series of Omaha, Inc. That was in 1967. I would think it might have even been one of the very first sports commissions because of its singular focus at that point on athletics. And for many, many years afterwards, the experience and the relationship cultivated with the NCAA resulted in renewals being handled verbally and with a handshake. By the late 1980s and 1990s, there had been many improvements at the Diamond on the Hill. There had been accommodations made for the growth of the College World Series and the way it had changed from its very early years. And it was also in reaction to some pretty strong campaigning by other cities to bring the College World Series to their community. Clearly it was recognized as a source of revenue generation and also a source of civic pride. And there were, stadiums to the north that were offering a dome stadium. There were facilities to the south and to the east that were saying that they could link the College World Series with some other year-round entertainment. And so the civic officials and the private business concerns looked at the College World Series and said, proactively, we need to come up with an even bigger and grander plan than year-to-year improvements for the stadium. So in about 2005, the city, the state, the NCAA all got together and said, let's talk about a decision to possibly move the College World Series to the north downtown. Now that public-private partnership that resulted in the move of the stadium and the building of a brand new stadium was one that, as you know from what I said earlier, started back in 1950. It's still a very vigorous concern. And the rationale for moving the College World Series had a lot to do with not wanting to lose the economic impact that generates on an annual basis. It also had a lot to do with the opportunity to build up a new portion of Omaha with that excitement and activity.
So that's where economic impact really comes into play. Obviously, a move to a new stadium, construction of a new stadium was not going to take place without some major money involved with that. So I think everybody looked at the situation and said, all came to the agreement that the College World Series continues to grow even to this day as a major source of visibility and economic impact for both the city of Omaha and the state of Nebraska. So in 2014, the College World Series drew an average of 21,734 fans per game. Now that exceeds the actual average attendance per session for the 2014 NCAA Men's Division I basketball. Now that's March Madness. If you look through the first, second, third, and regional rounds of that tournament, 21,734 is a bigger number than the numbers that they get for that particular event. And I think that's important. And we've come a long way, of course, since 1950. In 2008, the NCAA and the City of Omaha entered into a very long-term agreement. In fact, it was a 25-year agreement that starts in the year 2011. And it was an unprecedented move on the part of the NCAA. The NCAA had never entered into such a long-term contract with one entity and with one championship site. They did this because they knew this was a very viable event with a long-term history and was able to make some projections built on the expected revenues generated by this event. We entered into an agreement with Dr. Ernie Goss, who's a noted professional economist with the Creighton University. Dr. Goss had done economic impact studies for us in the past. We were able to come into an agreement with him to update this in 2014. So the numbers you're going to see are 2014 numbers, but actually the 2015 numbers are a little bit bigger. But for the official economic impact studies, we're using 2014 numbers. So the total attendance for the College World Series grew from 17,800 and change during its first year in Omaha in 1950 to 347,740 in 2014. Between 1970 and 2014, College World Series attendance grew by 366%, or at a rate of 3.5% compound annual growth. And that's very significant. Now, what's been great about the College World Series as an event is that it brings in extra ancillary events that are sort of attached at the hip with the College World Series. For example, there are 3 youth baseball tournaments that are held in Omaha during the College World Series. For example, there's one called the Slump Buster, and it's sponsored by Triple Crown Sports out of Colorado. That drew nearly 500 teams representing 35 states in 2014. Now, Triple Crown not only brings that money into Omaha, but they also purchased 15,000 general admission tickets for the 2014 College World Series. That means that if you're one of the kids playing in this tournament, you have an opportunity to come see the national championship of collegiate baseball, and that's a very important thing. The 2014 Slump Buster attendees and participants used 16,500 room nights at 42 area hotels. In fact, some Lincoln hotels are actually booked for this Slump Buster tournament because they run out of hotel rooms in Omaha because of the College World Series and these various tournaments. Well, it's no secret that people who come to the College World Series bring money, and they are visitors, and so they're bringing new money into the market, which is great. 59% of College World Series attendees come from outside Nebraska. I think that that's a staggering figure when you think about the College World Series as being just really a local event. But 59% of those attendees come from outside of Nebraska. 13% of College World Series attendees come from Nebraska, but outside of Omaha. 66% of advance ticket sales come from fans living outside of Nebraska. Now, I should point out that the advance tickets are reserved seat tickets that go on sale in April prior to the start of the College World Series. You go online or you call in to a number. You're allowed to purchase tickets, and those tickets are basically 2/3 of them are purchased by people living outside of Nebraska. And 25% of College World Series season ticket purchases are made by non-Nebraskans. These are people who buy and who've had a chance to buy tickets for many years. We have season ticket accounts in almost all the states in the union. I think Delaware doesn't have any, and I believe even Alaska and Hawaii have season ticket holders, which is kind of an incredible thing. But 25% of these purchases are made by non-Nebraskans. It's an interesting fact, too, not mentioned here, that our season ticket holder base, about 60% of those people have held their season tickets for longer than 30 years. It's an absolute amazing fact. Well, that's the big number right there. In 2014, College World Series patrons added $63.7 million to the Omaha and the Nebraska economy. I think from an economic impacts point of view, that's what we're all about right there. That's absolutely an amazing figure. Yeah.
You know, the economic impact of the College World Series not only is important for 2 weeks in June when it's, excuse me, when that event is in Omaha, it has a year-round impact as well. The equivalent number of full-time jobs that are supported by the College World Series year-round has grown. It was significant before we moved to the north downtown from our South Omaha home at Rosenblatt. It was 557 in 2003 when we moved to TD Ameritrade Park. We started seeing that number grow, and we're up to 777 now. And in addition to that modest number, which is still a pretty exciting one for us, we've also been able to contribute to the economic impact of the area through a very focused contribution program where we try to improve baseball and softball fields. And we've also seen an economic impact here for the state as well as the local tax collections of $6.2 million. What's not captured in that number is the tremendous amount of development that we've experienced in our new North Downtown home. Sadly, when we were at Rosenblatt, there was an initial flurry of activity, but there really wasn't the long-term growth that we expect to see continue in our North Downtown home.
And beyond the hard numbers, the numbers of dollars that come in, the numbers of jobs, the College World Series provides national exposure for Omaha and Nebraska. ESPN has been a huge partner of ours. You know, back in the early 80s, ESPN was still known as the Entertainment Sports Programming Network, and not by its initials so much. And they were looking for programming. They were looking for programming anywhere they could find it. Championship refrigerator lifting from Bayonne, New Jersey, and things like that. I mean, just absolutely some of the weirdest events in the world. But they came across this little event called the College World Series. And they said, you know, this might be just something that we can hang our hats on. And of course that they have. And for 2014, ESPN, ESPN2, and ESPNU televised 62 games over the 3 rounds, that's the regionals, super regionals, and the College World Series finals, to reach a total of 52 million plus viewers. That's incredible viewership for college baseball. 2014 viewership saw a 14% increase over the previous year, with an average of more than 500,000 viewers per game. And 2014 coverage included the 3rd highest rated baseball telecast, not just college baseball, but through Major League Baseball as well. The 3rd highest rated baseball telecast across all networks, including cable and broadcast networks. From an overall media standpoint, and we credit our partners at Bozell Advertising for tracking this. The overall media for the College World Series equated to a total publicity value of almost, and this number is not made up, $279 million. There were 1,358 radio spots. There were 5,371 television stories, more than 6,000 interviews, stories, broadcasts on the web. There were nearly 5,000 print stories, and this is a number that everybody needs to pay attention to, a little over 250,000 social media posts. That's a big, big thing, and getting to be a bigger and bigger portion of the overall sports marketing and event marketing theme. The social and digital media aspects of it are just absolutely incredible, and they move at lightning fast speed. And it's great to take note of all that.
And by way of wrapping up our portion of this program, we just wanted to say the College World Series obviously is good for Omaha, but it's also very, very nice for Nebraska.
Great, thank you guys very much. All of these are fantastic numbers that I think blow all of our minds, especially the progression of the College World Series over the years and the success that they've had. I know that Nebraska Tourism does a lot of promotion in and around this event and other similar events that take place in Omaha, and occasionally we will get the question, you know, why do we spend so much money on sports marketing, and why do we promote these events, and these numbers are why. when you look at the results and the amount of people it's reaching and the positive exposure that it gives to Omaha and the state as a whole, it's just really amazing. And it's not just in the commercials, it's in, you hear the announcers and they're constantly talking about Omaha and all the great things going on about Omaha, the places they ate, the people they met, the great fans, the nice fans. So all of it really ties in well to all of our messaging. So great opportunity for us to promote the state. So now we're going to hear from Derek Bombeck from the Lincoln Convention and Visitors Bureau. Derek is the Sales Development Manager, and he's going to talk to us a little bit about sports and events marketing in Lincoln. Thank you, Derek.
Thank you for having me. Kudos to what Omaha's done for the College World Series and what the College World Series has done for Omaha. We're definitely not all as fortunate to have an event of that stature at our home for 70 years. So, for most of you out there, things like I do is try to recruit events to Lincoln. And it's become a lot easier to do that over the past few years in Lincoln with our growth. Just last year we hosted the 2015 State Games of America, which had almost 16,000 athletes. And it was a $25 million economic impact. Earlier this year, we hosted the Norseca Olympic Women's Volleyball Qualification Tournament at Pinnacle Bank Arena. And then moving forward into this year and things that are coming up, I'm going to go over 3 different events. And they're really different in nature because one of the events, which you'll see, Lincoln has housed 28 times over the past 50 years. There's another event that's going to be coming, which it's held every other year. However, it's just not typically held on U.S. soil. And then there's our third event that I'll be talking about in Major League Triathlon, that this is the inaugural year. So kind of the pros and cons of each one, working through it and how they're so different. But initially with USA Roller Sports and its championships, this will be the 28th time that Lincoln has hosted it. Now, every time up until this year has been housed at Pershing Auditorium. Well, we now know that Pershing is no longer in usage for the citizens of Lincoln, so we've had to come up and make new arrangements, and the new facility that's going to house USA Roller Sports is Speedway Village. This event takes almost a month long, as you see by the statistics, and there's about 2,000 skaters that are going to be in Lincoln for that time, competing in many events from roller derby to the first year ever with slalom, speed skating, and rink hockey, and artistic skating. The event does have a $5 to $7 million economic impact on the city and the state, and the nice thing is with this event, they're here for so long that they have downtime, so they do make arrangements to go see things in Omaha, go see things in western Nebraska, so the whole state really does see the impact of this event. And the nice thing, the Lincoln has been awarded this for 2016 and 17 with a third year to be determined. And a lot of people ask, why Lincoln? Why choose Lincoln as a destination, or Nebraska for that matter? And it's easy for us to live here. For those who have never been, maybe it's a little tougher sell, but once you get them here, which I'm sure you guys can attest to with the College World Series, they love it. It's home. But we are centrally located. You can come from East Coast, West Coast, North, South. It's a safe, clean environment. Families want to come here to spend their time knowing that their children are going to be safe and have a fun environment to compete in. And just like I said, the growth of Lincoln in itself with the new Pinnacle Bank Arena, the new Rail Yard Entertainment District, and then new venues such as Speedway Village that can take on these events that we've had here for so long that we wouldn't have been able to otherwise. With this event, like I said, it's been housed in Lincoln for 28 years, so it's virtually a turnkey event until you bring in a whole new venue. But we're still working through things with Speedway Village, but we're very confident this July and August is going to be a wonderful event for the athletes. The second event that I kind of brought up was the World Youth Championships. Now, this event is the World 10-Pin Bowling Association. They've chosen Lincoln for the 2016 World Championships, and it's going to be athletes ages 16 to 21. We're expecting about 45 countries to be represented, including multiple countries from Europe, Asia, Australia, Central and South America. Now, each country will bring 4 competitors and some alternatives, but it's 2 male and 2 female athletes. There will be some team events, there's going to be some individual events, but in the history over the past 6 years, you can see why it's kind of unprecedented that it's in Lincoln, Nebraska, considering it was in Hong Kong, China in 2014, Bangkok, Thailand in 2012, and then Helsinki, Finland in 2010. And one thing that we can definitely have great support here in Lincoln is local organizing committees, and one we have with this event is John Lucido at Sun Valley Lanes. He is a turnkey kind of individual when it comes to bowling competitions, whether it be nationally and internationally. Our facility is going to be the smallest facility they've ever hosted this event at, but they were so confident in John and his staff that they took a chance on us, and we're very excited to have this event here in July and August. This event is expected to have about a $1 million economic impact, and it will be streamed online, and then it's expected to have about 500,000 viewers throughout that. Now with this event, we're going through a lot of the same, pros and cons of the USA Roller Sports. It's great to have the event, but now there's a lot of things that when people host events, they don't realize everything that goes in. You're bringing people in from over 45 countries. Well, you have to get them to the airports, and you have to get them from the airports to Lincoln to the hotels to the venues. So transportation right now is, I wouldn't call it a nightmare, but just one of the processes that we're going through. Sponsorships we want to try to get this on live TV and not just being streamed. So working on sponsorships with the State Tourism Commission and other local areas vendors around Lincoln. We're hoping to help ourselves out and be able to impact as many people within the city as also the state of Nebraska. Lastly, for the event is Major League Triathlon. And this event is an event that I reached out to at a conference back in Pittsburgh, and they're in their inaugural year. So this is a completely new event that we're trying to work in Lincoln. It's going to be held August 26th through 28th of 2016 at Holmes Lake. With this type of event, what they're wanting to do is create an entire atmosphere. They want to have a fan fest, they want to have concert, they want to have local food and beverage vendors out there. So it's not just something that somebody would come watch and, okay, they've never seen a triathlon, they might not come, but this is supposed to be more of like a county fair environment where to get people interested in the sport because they're trying to promote it. I did say this is the inaugural season, and they're choosing 4 cities for this first year. But what's exciting about Major League Triathlon is the first ever professional triathlon series. So there's going to be multiple events where novice through professional can race. But Lincoln is going to have its own team of 4 with 2 male and 2 female competing against other cities throughout the nation. And then when they're on this series, people in Lincoln will always have, a vested interest in their team that's going to compete elsewhere throughout the United States. The nice thing about this event, our projections through the first year to have 700 to 1,000 out-of-town participants. And the economic impact for this one is going to be about $2 to $3 million as well. The nice thing about growing an event like this, it's important to do it right the first time, because we're trying to introduce Lincoln and the triathlon vibe in Lincoln to a lot of new people that have potentially never been here before. So we work with great partners like Gary Bredehoff in Lincoln and Holmes Lake and the staff that's out there because they've done events out there. But doing a quality job the first time is the most important thing, as you guys can attest to. If people don't have the best experience, whether it be the quality of the event or just the activities you had set aside after the event and before and after, they're less likely to return for a second visit. So we're really trying to do it right the first time, and we're working with Dan Imperato and Daniel Cassidy with Major League Triathlon to make sure that Lincoln is done very well the very first time. So I think those are the 3 events we had.
Great, thank you, Derek. And I'm sure as we're going through all of this that many of you will have questions for Derek and everybody at the end. So as I said, just keep sending those in to Jen and we will try to answer those as we get done. Next, we're going to talk a little bit about Nebraska Tourism's promotion of golf in the state of Nebraska. And we have Rich Clausen with us here from our Bailey Lauerman advertising team. And I'm going to turn this over to Rich for a couple of reasons. One, he golfs a lot more than I do and knows a lot more about the subject and is very passionate about it. And also, he and his agency are the ones that help create all these ads for us. So I'll let you explain this to everybody.
Great. Thank you, Angela. And don't confuse the fact that I play a lot of golf that I'm a very good golfer. I'm not. I'm very average. But I do love the sport. And before we jump into golf, I would, a couple of comments on the 2 presentations that you heard or the conversations that we had before we get to golf. And that is something to reiterate to everybody is that I know just from experience that when people come in to visit Nebraska and they go to the College World Series or to go to these events in Lincoln or in Omaha, that they travel to other parts of the state. And so they don't spend all of their time just in the eastern part of the state. It is not unusual at all for people to travel to the farthest places west when they have some time and they want to explore the state. So while these events are based in the two major metropolitan areas of the state, the entire state benefits. And I'm so grateful to the Morrisseys and for all the work that you all have done with the College World Series and to the Lincoln Convention and Visitors Bureau, because it truly is a team effort for the entire state to benefit, and I think the entire state sees that. So thank you very much. Now getting on to my passion for being an average player in a great game for golf. It's interesting. Golf is a $260 million plus industry in the state of Nebraska. And it contributes really to not just the economic value of our state and helping to drive that, but also to the quality of life in the state. And it's a tremendous driver. And the reason that it is that over the past, I would say, 20 years, we have developed a golf product and golf experiences in the state that are unlike any others in the country. And I think the country has taken notice. And so you will see people coming into the state, flying into the state, driving into the state, not just from contiguous states around Nebraska, but from all over the country, and in fact all over the world, just to play the courses that are so uniquely Nebraska, and really are only, I think, rivaled in terms of a Prairie Link style course experience to Scotland, which is the birthplace of golf. And so I really think we have a tremendous product here. We have 200 plus golf courses in the state, and everybody that surrounds or envelops one of these courses really benefits from the golfers coming in and spending time and playing the courses. And we're not just talking about the privates, where you have to be a member, you have to be invited. We have tremendous public play, even at some of the private courses. And so it's truly an exciting time for golf in Nebraska. The goals really for golf in Nebraska on behalf of the Nebraska Tourism Commission is, number one, we want to try and get our golf properties in the state to claim their course or their destination on visitnebraska.com. And a lot of them have. In fact, a majority of them have. But we want to get every single golf property that's in the state to claim their course and destination. Because what we can do is we can drive people then to visitnebraska.com, and whether you have a website or not as a course, this can become your digital presence within the tourism space. So we want to encourage all the properties to do that. We will continue to seek paid opportunities or ads that we can place alongside editorial about our golf in our state. There has been a lot of interest, whether it's from the PGA or Golf Magazine or Kingdom Magazine, which is an Arnold Palmer publication, to come into the state, do a tour, do a series of articles, or just taking some breathtaking photography of these courses and sharing that with their readership, which are really, really avid golfers all throughout the country and the world. And so where there is editorial about our courses, we want to try and support that as the state's Tourism Commission with a paid message as well. And the paid message is very simple. You'll see it here in just a bit, but we want to be able to do that. And then also finally, just promoting the unique golf experiences in our state via all online video and traditional media placements. And really the golf experiences are not just the Prairie Links or the link style golf experiences, but we have tremendous experiences throughout the state that are river based, where those provide wonderful opportunities for great challenges. And then some of the experiences are very wooded, and things that you wouldn't expect to find in Nebraska. Just a great variety of golfing experiences. So one of the things that we do as well is we try and utilize current assets that we have as a Tourism Commission. And if you look in the travel guide, for example, we have a 4-page spread that is titled Incredible Drives that talks about golf across the entire state, from east to west and north to south. And with beautiful photography, and in the travel guide, we are driving people to go to Nebraska, visitnebraska.com to find out more. And there they can find out more about all of these wonderful courses in our state. Here's some interesting information that Golf Digest, which is a prominent national publication, America's 100 Greatest Golf Courses, and these are courses that are open to the public. And there are other courses that also rate high on various lists, but they're private or by invitation only. So today we're just talking about those courses that the public can play, anybody can play. And the Prairie Club, which is up in Valentine, they have two courses, the Dunes course and the Pines course, and they're rated 35 and 75 respectively by Golf Digest as one of the top 100 greatest courses in this country. And then number 77 is Wild Horse Golf Course in Gothenburg. Now I would challenge many states, a lot of states that are not named Florida or New York or California or Texas, to have as great a representation on this top 100 list as Nebraska. In fact, if you look at golfers per capita, I would say we would rank very close to the top of the list. So some tremendous product. And so we promote golf statewide in a lot of national publications like I talked about. Kingdom Magazine, which is an Arnold Palmer publication, and PGA Magazine, Golf Magazine, and then recently this past fall in United Airlines Hemispheres Magazine. And these are really ads and paid advertisements that talk about the experience more than anything else, the nice moment and moments that you can expect when you play golf in Nebraska. And I think it's just, as a golfer, these really hit home, and these speak to me as a golfer that this is a place that I should come and play. The other thing that I think is good to keep in mind is that golfers are not just people that are 57 years old and are duffers like Rich Clausen, but they are men, they are women, they are baby boomers, they are family people, they are millennials. So there is a big movement to try and get more and more young people in this country to play golf. And that is a tremendous market for us as well. And so the great thing about Nebraska Courses is that we are very accommodating. We create wonderful, nice moments for each and every golfer, and the people that make these great first impressions, the pros and the staffs at all of these courses are unbelievably welcoming as well. And hopefully at the end of the round, whether it's good or bad, you're going to be able to have a smile on your face and say that you enjoyed playing golf in Nebraska.
All right, thank you, Rich. Now we're going to finish up by talking a little bit about tourism marketing grant opportunities. We just recently released the tourism marketing grant opportunities. The instructions are here on the screen, or the main information, but applications for the Nebraska Tourism Commission's annual tourism marketing grant program are now being accepted. In 2015, 26 tourism marketing grants totaling nearly $200,000 were granted to entities across the state. We actually received 52 applications for those grants, requesting over $500,000 in funding. Obviously, we can't fund every project, but we hope that we can fund the best of those projects. And the focus of the grant program is to attract new visitors from outside a 100-mile radius. Funding for marketing projects is available in 3 categories: promotion of an event, promotion of a region, and general marketing. The minimum grant amount that can be requested is $2,000, and the maximum for this particular grant is $15,000. You can see the schedule right there, the grant schedule. Any interested applicants can download the marketing grant guidelines and application from our website. I would highly suggest, if you have any questions about this grant, contact Heather Hogue in our office. She is our grant guru. She is the expert of the grants and has been handling them for many years, and so she can answer any question that you might have. They can be a little bit complicated to figure out if it's your first time applying for a grant in general or this particular grant, so make sure you utilize Heather as a resource if you have questions. And there is no stupid questions in this process, so feel free to contact her. The other grant that we have going on right now is the Community Impact Grant opportunities. They are also available on our website right now. This grant provides marketing assistance to communities, organizations, and local tourism promotional groups hosting national or international caliber events. So these are events like the U.S. Swim Trials or things along that nature, events that bring in visitors from all over the country or even internationally. So again, these events must have the potential to attract a significant percentage of out-of-state visitors and to generate favorable national and international press coverage for Nebraska, increasing exposure through advertising, marketing, and promotional efforts. Events requesting grant funding for this program must take place between May 1st, 2016 and May 1st, 2017 to be eligible during this grant cycle. This past fall, more than $200,000 were awarded through these community impact grants, and those were awarded to the Omaha Sports Commission for the 2016 U.S. Olympic Swim Team Trials, the Omaha Equestrian Foundation for the International Omaha, and to the Lincoln USBC Bowling Association for the World 10-Pin Youth Bowling Championship, which we heard about a little bit earlier. So these community impact grants were first implemented in 2013, and since then the Commission has awarded more than $650,000 in funding to these applicants. So again, as we're talking about these events and you're here kind of inspired by some of these positive wins that have been happening in Lincoln and Omaha and around the state, please know that a lot of these events have applied for these grants in the past and have received these grants, and it definitely goes a long way. Every bit of support you can get anywhere is always helpful, I know. So make sure that you're aware of those grant opportunities and that you take advantage of them. Once again, make sure you call Heather Hogue at our office if you have any questions about that. You can just call the main line and ask for Heather. But now we'll go ahead and take some questions. If anyone has any questions, please make sure you email them to jenjurdy@nebraska.gov. Jen, do we have any questions?
Yes, we have a couple. I have one that's kind of for all of our speakers today that I'll start with. What sporting events would each of you like to see hosted in Nebraska? What kind of things should people be recruiting?
I think, my way of thinking, because I'm a big hockey fan, I think some hockey events could be recruited. I know Lincoln is kind of hockey mad, as well as Lake Kearney has a team as well, a USHL team. I'd like to see more hockey events happen in the state. I think that is obviously it takes a big investment in a rink and a lot of infrastructure. But that being the case, I think that the state and certainly the larger metropolitan areas are really hungry for more hockey events.
I'm a big advocate just for youth sports in general. You know, anything and everything you can get. You know, there are so many different opportunities in every city in Nebraska for youth sports, from lacrosse to hockey to golf to basketball, baseball, softball, and just trying to get as much here as we can to bring competition to the youth of Nebraska so they can get better and build. But then along the lines, I would like to see a little bit more wrestling. I know we are also a wrestling very driven state with the state high school championships just being held, and we've hosted the national championships here. I would like to see maybe the world trials, Olympic trials, something like that nature be held in the state. So.
Anything you wanted to add, Kathryn or Rich?
Yeah, I would love to see a couple things. One would be, I'd love to see us host the National High School Rodeo Championships. And I grew up in rodeo, and you know, Nebraska's the birthplace of rodeo, and I think that would be terrific, and I think that would be something really cool to do. The other thing I'd like to do, taking off of Derek, what he said, you know, with regards to this triathlon, I'd love to see some kind of a mega event that traverses the state and is biking and swimming and almost a relay. And maybe the event doesn't even exist right now. Maybe it's something that, you know, we invent and we invite interested parties to take part in. But something like that I think would be really cool.
You know, and I would add winter sports. We are aware how certain communities, for example, St. Paul has just had their winter carnival. And there are so many sports. We certainly have the weather periodically to support a winter carnival type event, and it'd be neat to see us embrace that.
Yeah, all great answers, hopefully maybe inspiring people that are listening. Derek, kind of bouncing off what you said, somebody said it seems like Lincoln is being picked up for a lot of kids and amateur events. Is this a niche your CVB has targeted, and how does your CVB decide what events they want to go after?
You know, we look at the pros and cons from economic impact to, you know, the viability of it, you know, being a lasting event, but we do want to target youth sports, and that's one thing that Lincoln, I believe, needs to do a little bit more with as far as youth facilities like the major baseball and softball complexes that was spoken about earlier with the Triple Crown Slum Buster. You know, we do get a little bit carryover from that event, but, you know, it would be nice if Lincoln could support its own 500 team tournament, which right now it would be difficult to do with sporadic fields throughout the city. But there's just indoor, you know, for basketball, volleyball, anything like that, you know, there's just more that could be done for the youth of Lincoln and hopefully for the state of Nebraska.
And another question for you from North Platte. Once you've been awarded the bids for your events, how much time does the CVB go into the planning and execution? And do you turn the events over to host facilities, or how does that kind of work for you guys?
It completely depends on the event. Like I can tell you right now, this World Youth Championships that we're hosting this year, it was bid on and won before I even started this job 3 years ago. So that's kind of how far in advance some of these events are bid out. But depending on the event, it's great to have an excellent local organizing committee that can really pick up the slack, and they just kind of take the reins of the event. And then, like myself, just acts as a liaison and a consultant between the LOC and the hosting organization. But then there's events like this World Youth Championships and the Olympic volleyball qualification tournament, where I made sure I was very hands-on just for the level of impact that it's going to have, and try to stay involved as possible.
Would you guys, I guess this is more of a volunteer effort, people are wondering, would any of you presenters be a good resource for small communities, and would they be able to reach out to you for recruiting advice?
Sure, absolutely. We have a website, cwsomaha.com. They can reach us through that website, find our email addresses. We'd be happy to help out. As we move closer to the College World Series, our time becomes a bit more compressed, but we certainly would be able to try and get back to you as fast as we can.
Yeah, and you know, just kind of going off that, you know, we're all competing markets to an extent, but we also have our individual market, you know, to where we're not going after these same events, and there are certain events that I don't go after because it's just a little bit too small for what I want, where it may work, you know, better for, you know, some other cities. And there's events that, you know, Omaha that I just can't go after because we don't have some of the facilities. So, you know, as much as, you know, we compete against each other, you know, I play off Omaha a lot, you know, and I think Omaha does for us, depending on the events that we bring in, and so I think we can definitely be a great partner.
This is for you, Dan and Kathryn. Can you think of any cities in more recent history that have captured large-scale, long-term events that maybe people can look at for examples?
Oklahoma City for the Women's College World Series. They've had the Women's College World Series there not quite half as long as we've had the College World Series in Omaha. But that was an event. Women's sports clearly weren't drawing the same level of attention as men's sports at one point, and I still see it as a market that has a lot of growth potential.
Yeah, and I think one of the things that anybody who is considering bidding on an event needs to keep in mind, number one, is fit. Yeah, does the event actually fit your culture? Does the event actually fit what your population base, the people that you are really dependent upon to support your event? Does that make sense? And secondly, it's funding. It's you know, events fail because they're underfunded a lot of times, and it's important that that when you're bidding for an event, that you need the support of your local community, the local businesses, and to make sure that, you know, that those people are behind you, so that, you know, when you're deciding to actually bid on an event, there's always a monetary factor that's involved, and you really need to do your homework and have that support in place.
Just a reminder, anyone that wants to send questions to jen.jurdy@nebraska.gov. Rich, I'm going to come up to you at the podium. Is golf a dying sport? Somebody wants to know.
Oh, I think it's just a people sport. No, I see, and I don't have facts to back this, but I play a lot of golf, and I see not as many women as I see men, but I've seen over the years a lot of women taking up the sport and taking up the game. And I've seen not just older people playing golf, or people, it used to be probably considered a privileged sport, but it's really not. It's for anybody that wants to get out and enjoy the outdoors and to be competitive. And really you're competitive with yourself, not with others. And so if you can just stay competitive and stay within yourself, you enjoy the game a lot more. And I see a lot of young people now playing the sport too. So I don't think it's just a guy sport, not at all.
This is more about the love of the sport for you. What Nebraska course surprised you the most that you've played?
Oh boy. There are a few. And and this is not in terms of favoritism, but these are just courses that I wasn't familiar with and I hadn't played before. So I'd never played Bayside in Brule, Nebraska, just outside of Ogallala and on the shores of Lake McConaughey. That course really surprised me because I didn't expect that experience. I was taken back the very first time that I played Woodland Hills in Eagle, Nebraska, just in rural Eagle. And that seemed to transport me to another place that I just it didn't feel like I was in my home state of Nebraska. It was a part of Nebraska that I really hadn't seen. I loved the public courses, the little 9-hole courses in Mullen and in Broken Bow and in Alma and Thedford out west. I've yet to play Prairie Club up in Valentine, but I'd sure like to take that on.
Okay.
If I could just make one more comment, and that is I was really when Kathryn was talking about how the College World Series started, and it was Kalamazoo, Michigan, and then it went to Wichita, and then it came to Omaha, and it found its home forever and ever, I hope. And who knew back in 1950 that it would be what it is today? And why didn't it succeed in Kalamazoo or in Wichita like it did then in Omaha? And I've got to think that part of it is there is this spirit of Nebraskans that we're very, very competitive, and that if we have a shot at winning something, we want to really win it. And I am so impressed by the growth of the College World Series. But back when it first moved to Omaha, nobody probably could have predicted the success that it has today. And I've got to think, I just have to believe that there are events that are out there right now, all across the state, where we don't know which one is the next College World Series. Whether it's in Omaha, in Lincoln, in Scotts Bluff, in Valentine, down in North Platte, wherever it is, or even smaller communities, there's an opportunity to build something unique, own it, and support it, as Dan said, to support it properly. Because events succeed because of the great support that they get from the communities that they call home. And so I'd encourage everybody just to dream really big.
I don't have any more questions.
All right, well, thank you, everyone. We had some great presenters today. I enjoyed all of your information, and I'm sure you may be getting some people contacting you afterward for further questions and advice, and I'm sure you'll accommodate that, and we appreciate that very much. So thank you, everyone, and have a nice day.
Thank you.